So what is Viking reenactment? Is it a lifestyle, a path to a simpler life, a way of connecting with people, an interest in history? Or is it a greater sense of alignment with nature, or just a pastime activity based on historical interest? Viking reenactment is all of this and yet so much more. Maybe you have an interest in the Viking Age. Maybe you have already been thinking of starting in Viking reenactment. Or maybe you're already active in Viking reenactment. Maybe you're just interested in learning why Viking reenactment is such a fast growing scene and why it attracts so many people from so many different walks of life. Join me in this video as we embark on a quest to learn what is Viking reenactment. I suppose when most people think of Viking reenactment, they think of historical festivals and fairs during spring and summer months. Warriors battling and bursting to thrill the audience. Craftsmen working and selling their goods. And I do think that it's a relatively fair representation of what Viking reenactment looks like from the outside. But we are about to take another look from the inside. We recreate a setting where we can live an everyday Viking life as authentic as possible. But even at best, it's a qualified guess. We use archaeological sources to reconstruct everything from clothing to kitchen utensils to jewellery and furniture. And we fill in the blanks with interpretation and by experimenting. This creates a world of wood and leather and linen, bone, silver, fire and iron, and that can give an idea of how the Viking Age could have looked. Already when I started being active in Viking reenactment, I realised that as soon as summer was over, I still had a very strong need of being in touch with this living history that I had just witnessed. I wanted more from the experience. So as winter came, I decided I would keep on doing Viking reenactment. I was already doing bushcraft trips, so it made sense for me to try and combine this with the Viking gear that I had. I remember very clearly the first time I left my car behind and walked off into the forest with only my Viking gear. I felt so naked, even though I was clad in woolen garments. It was extremely humbling to go alone into the forest without modern waterproofing or rubber soles under my feet. But I was overwhelmed by a feeling of lightness, and a feeling of freedom, and a feeling of belonging. With my own 2 hands, I had made every single thing I had with me, and it felt right. So I spent the rest of winter researching sources and making more gear for my kit, so I could keep doing this other type of reenactment that I had discovered. There are so many paths to follow and wells to dive into in the world of Viking reenactment. Everything from blacksmithing and bead making, cooking, weapons and warfare, carpentry, pottery, and the list goes on. This allows people to immerse themselves into a quite narrow field and become living libraries of knowledge and experience on crafts from the past. Most people in reenactment has a high level of curiosity and tend to have a natural urge to learn. A big part of what we do is understanding how things feel and work, but also to pass it on, to make it come alive. It is in every aspect a very living tradition. I am blessed to know a lot of interesting people. People that have dedicated big parts of their lives to become masters at what they do. From the written sources and the archaeological finds and the surviving depictions, they have recreated and perfected their trade. This accumulation of knowledge, from a time we can only experience in glimpses when we reenact it, is mind-blowing. This is not books or academic knowledge. This is people's wisdom and sometimes lifetime achievements. This is very rewarding to be a part of, and it literally sometimes feels like I'm shaking hands with my own history.
Rasmus, hvad har du lyst til?
When I was in the forest that first winter with my Viking gear, I realized that for the first time, I was not just a visitor or a guest. I truly belonged. And I have been addicted to that feeling ever since. And I feel it when I understand the grain of the wood, when my axe finds its way down through the fibers, or when the birch bark that I collected is transformed into tar that I can use to waterproof my leather gear. To understand the time and energy and skill it takes to sew a pair of Viking shoes, and to strap them on my feet and just walk off into the forest. That sincere feeling of appreciation of things is something that I have a really hard time finding in the modern world.
Her skal vi lege den her film. Den her film hedder Reenactment.
Mine damer og herrer, det var alt, hvad vi lige havde forberedt for jer for nu. Godt! Godt, jamen publikum, I kan få lov at tage et stykke dyb indånding. Og gør klar med vores lille trumhiv her. Det der med. Tak for bomben.
During the summer months, we meet at Viking festivals and markets. Here the craftspeople bring their tools and trades, the merchants their goods, and the warriors their armor and weapons. It's a welcomed opportunity to meet up with friends and strengthen the bonds. We live in reconstructed houses or tent camps, and we gather under the open sky around the big fire to cook our meals. We spend time with our friends, with our families, and with our children, with a mind at ease. Sometimes it's just for a day or two, and sometimes for several weeks at a time. In the evenings, we fill our cups and we share songs and stories and laughter by the big open fire. Who are you when you're removed from the modern world, immersed in a different setting, away from social media and the toil of your everyday life? And how do you feel when most of your day is spent on the ground with your friends? There's no abundance of material things here. No titles or no fancy cars. What does that do to you? And who are you when the mask is off and you're stripped away from modern comforts and distractions? The only thing you are here is how you are in the present moment, the way you contribute to the community, or the skills or the knowledge you inherit, or how well you participate in creating an atmosphere where even the audience feels drawn into the wells of history. In that way, Viking reenactment can offer you a chance to be the real you. When I do Viking reenactment, I am me. I am not in a role trying to be a specific person from a specific time period. I am not wearing a costume. It's like an extension of who I am, with more space to be me, the real me. No matter what, it's a very social activity, and for every person there's a new perspective of what Viking reenactment is. Everything is done together, and for some people this can be at times intimidating or even draining. And sometimes interacting with the audience and sharing your passion can be a bit overwhelming, even for the most outgoing person. As much as I need to connect with the past, the community and my friends, I also need to connect with myself. To me, it's a kind of therapy to go into the forest and lose my mind but find my soul. To feel the earth beneath me, to witness the passing seasons and see the animals and feel the elements on my skin. Sometimes I need that immense peace and quiet that this gives. I need it to understand the way a certain tool works, or to watch the repetitive movement of the needle in and out through the fabric. Or to gather up enough courage to try my hand at something new with a high risk of failure. Since that first time in the forest with my Viking gear, I need that sense of belonging and lightness, to be this brave and to set my mind free. But that's just me. If people passed me by, I wonder what they would see and what they would think. I really like to do Viking bushcraft, to have the forest as my workshop. And when I create something at a spot near a small stream in the forest, whatever I am creating kind of connects with the place. When I light this lamp, I will be reminded of that day by the stream, the sounds, the smells, the wildlife that came by. Or even that small cut I got on my finger when the knife slipped. And when I come back to this spot by the stream, I will always be reminded of carving the wood for the lamp and lighting it for the first time. I don't know how to explain this better, but this sense of interconnection is very important to me. And this might not be reenactment for you, but it surely is a big part of it for me. So what is Viking reenactment really? Viking reenactment is when I study my books by the fireplace or discuss opinions about a certain reconstruction. Viking reenactment is spending hours every week honing my skill with sword and shield. Being active in a modern day martial arts with blunt Viking age weapons. Viking reenactment is also sitting by the fireplace, spending countless hours hand sewing a new piece of clothing for my Viking wardrobe. Viking reenactment is also the appreciation of things, the understanding of true social interaction, and to bring the meaning of friendship with you wherever you go. And Viking reenactment is also going to the forest to feel closer to earth and to come home with materials for the coming winter's projects. It is also a very demanding way to spend your time, for good and for bad. It is cursing the rain when your tent was not waterproof enough, or the wind when the woolen tunic just won't keep it out, or trying to get a fire going with freezing fingers and hurting your hands trying to scrub the inside of an iron pot where a stew has burned because you can't use soap. Viking reenactment is spending way too much money on hand-forged tools, on plant-dyed fabrics or beautiful Viking silver jewellery. It is coming home late on a Sunday and fill your house with muddy leather shoes and stinking furs and a pile of dirty kitchen tools that all need gentle and time-consuming care, when all you really want to do is just order takeaway and relax on the couch and get ready for a new week at work. I don't want to live in the past, and I don't think the modern world is that unbearable, but I sometimes need to find balance, to connect with something that I have lost, and to be reminded of parts of myself that I really like, and to slow down and ground myself. I think there's so much to learn when you interact with history. Not only knowledge and practical skills, but also maybe a more profound understanding of your own role in the big wheel of time. When you connect with historical crafts, you also connect with the materials. Natural materials that can be gathered, harvested, or foraged or collected at the right time, at the right place, and under the right conditions. It can change your view on the natural world around you. Without a single doubt, reenactment has taught me to feel a greater sense of connection with the changing seasons, the weather, and what is actually important for me, and with what and through which eyes I look to the forest and at the animals. It has taught me true satisfaction when succeeding in experimenting with tools and gear, and the real value of something I have produced with my own two hands, something I can actually feel and touch. It has taught me the true meaning of friendship and my need to belong to a community. You might be able to relate to some of these thoughts and ideas. Maybe you have your very own definition of what Viking reenactment is to you. Viking reenactment is so many things, and that is exactly the way it should be.